tips. I am so honored to have with me Joelle Gomez, the CEO of the Children's Home of Stockton. Welcome, Joelle. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks so much, Julie. I'm really glad to be here today.
I'm excited you're here. It's great to have you. And the Children's Home of Stockton helps so many children in our community. For those of our listeners that aren't aware of this amazing facility, tell us how it was formed, how long it's existed, and some of the recent changes that have happened.
Well, Children's Home of Stockton is one of the oldest nonprofits in Stockton and was established in 1882.
Wow.
And yeah, not many nonprofits can boast that, and I certainly cannot say I was there at the beginning. But what's remarkable is, being 136 years old and looking at how Children's Home of Stockton was formed. It had very humble start with a group of women who were called the Lady Auxiliary Society, and they alone really were the force to bring together what was known as our community's orphanage. So we saw children in a kind of communal setting. It was in our main building, which is still standing today, which is now called the Mark Phelps Building at 430 North Pilgrim Street. But it was a place for children as young as 3 years of age, all the way up into their teenage years to be. They had a house mother. Of course, the whole programming was so very different when it served as an orphanage, and that was the start of Children's Home of Stockton. Primarily kids from San Joaquin County, finding a home at the Children's Home of Stockton. Certainly, there was a lot of fundraising efforts done over the decades, over the past century, almost a century and a half, to raise monies to build an infrastructure or a campus that would then become what Children's Home of Stockton is today.
It's a beautiful campus.
Thank you. It really is. I mean, I would love people who have an interest, both from a historical point of view, but also to better know what a gem of service Children's Home of Stockton is providing for our really at-risk youth in our community. I really invite people to come down and see it for themselves. But, we're in this beautiful historical building. Although we no longer are an orphanage, we operate a residential program and a non-public school.
And what ages are you serving now?
Right. So the kids that we see in residential are as young as 8 years old. 11 years old, and all the way to 18. Our non-public school, which is another program I'll go in depth about, operates classrooms for kindergarten through 12th grade. So we see kids as young as 6 years of age all the way up to 18. And annually, Children's Home of Stockton will see approximately 150 kids in our programming. What we have transitioned to and what we have morphed from, being an orphanage to now a treatment center, I think people will probably relate to a group home. What kind of worries me is when you think of the word group home, a lot of people have these kind of scary images of, depressed, kind of scary, violent, if you will, places. And Children's Home is a far cry from anything that resembles that description.
And it is a home. It's beautiful, and it fits with your new logo.
Yeah.
And the cottages are amazing.
Thank you. In fact, so what we do is, realize that we have a huge responsibility in taking these kids into our care. And while they're in our care, more recently they would be with us for 2, 3, 4 years. And it's a home away from home. So our cottages, as you referred to, we have 7 cottages where our kids are grouped in either groups of 6 or as many as 10. There's 24/7 supervision. So we have youth counselors who are really our direct care staff. We have cottage managers who provide supervision. We have clinical staff, so clinicians and therapists who work with our kids in residential. So this team is really there to support our kids. And our kids come to us in 2 different ways. They either come through human services, social services. So through no fault of their own, there's abuse, neglect occurring in the home. It's no longer safe. And so they are referred to Children's Home of Stockton, where they're given a very comprehensive treatment plan to get them into a much better position to transition either home or with other family members or elsewhere that's suitable. The other way that we receive our kids is through the courts. So, when you think about our mission, Children's Home of Stockton is all about giving this very high-risk population of kids, youth, a second chance. And I would venture to say that every one of us, you, me, anyone who is listening, could probably pick out a moment in their life that they'd like a do-over, right? It's like, really wish I had thought that through, done something differently. Well, our kids are no different in that everybody deserves a second chance. And I'm not minimizing or excusing maybe what they have done, but there has been a run-in with the criminal justice system, and coming and being referred to Children's Home of Stockton is an opportunity to correct that behavior, to correct their path so that they can become successful, respectful individuals.
And all of these kids, you and I were talking earlier, have been through some physical or emotional mental trauma that they're dealing with. And on top of that, there may be other issues in their lives. We talked about when you spoke at my Rotary Club in Lodi that these kids would be on the street at some point if they weren't here, if not for Children's Home of Stockton.
You're right on. In fact, when I look at the segment of foster youth, there's such a vulnerable population, and in many ways represent youth that are forgotten, that are considered throwaway because they are marred with mental illness or behavioral issues, experiencing severe traumas. And when they come to Children's Home of Stockton, it's judgment-free. We know we're going to have a long way to work with these kids to build a rapport, to build trust. But at the same time, I look at it this way. I have 52 kids now that I feel responsible for, and I'm not going to give up on them. They might give up on themselves. They may come with a history of adults and people in their life that have not been supportive and not lifted them up. And by the time they come to us, it's, we're going to do every and anything that we can to help them realize their potential, help them believe in themselves.
And what's amazing, too, is the success stories.
Yeah.
You had an alumni speak at the United Way kickoff, and he talked about what his attitude was when he came into the children's home and how he changed and realized that the staff was there to support him, and how you guys became his second family. Yeah. And now he's a community leader, and he's encouraging other students to let them know that they can be successful.
Yeah, and Alex, who you're speaking about, is one of so many success stories that we have known over the years. And I think that's probably unfortunately, the one thing that the community isn't able to see on a regular basis like we are, to be able to follow kids who successfully navigate their future, who graduate our program. But one thing that I'm going to share a story that, it will always be with me because it happened in the first couple of months that I came to Children's Home of Stockton. And what we do is kind of ritual. And when one of our kids is going to leave us, graduate the program, we hold a little celebration, and we have cake and gifts and such. But the purpose is for all the peers, their peers as well as staff, to also take the time to say what they mean to them and celebrate them. So Robert was the student's name. He was going to be going to Delta and going on to his own apartment and sharing an apartment actually with another student who was leaving us. So it was really great, success. So by the time he hears everybody out and it's his time to speak, and you have to understand he's a pretty big, kind of a football stature kind of guy, right? Very, very muscular. And he said, he is standing there in the kitchen. I can still exactly remember what he was wearing too, jeans and a hoodie. And he started out by saying, when I first got here, I hated you all. And I remember thinking, I hope this isn't going to go south. And it was within seconds that he got really teared up. He got his hoodie, put it over his head, and he said, and now, you guys are my family. And to see somebody so, you would think, big, mature,
Tough.
tough, and to see him vulnerable in that moment and to realize it was okay because we are his family, and it doesn't just stop at graduation. We're going to be there as long as he needs us because we are in so many ways, just like Alex shared with the community in his presentation. We are, really their sometimes the only family that they have known.
Which is tragic, but it's beautiful at the same time because you're there when no one else is.
Right, right. And, I think the other challenge that we have as an organization is in accepting these kids. We have to understand that these are already the kids that are the hardest to place, who nobody wants, who have really severe traumas that they've experienced. So what goes hand in hand with accepting that responsibility is ensuring that our staff, who I just have the utmost respect for, hands down, it is not an easy job, and it takes a real special human being to be able to balance, what they're able to do, what they're not able to do. Some of the things are just out of their control, but to give it their all every single day. It's hard, and to take sometimes some verbal abuse back. We're talking about teens. There are times when they're not happy. It's not all, rosy and wonderful once they come to us. So our staff are given just an exceptional amount of training and education to always equip them so that they can do their best when they're working with these kids who need the best.
And now there's some additional challenges in terms of what your facility is doing and overseeing with new laws that have come into place.
Right. So I came in 2016, and I remember when I accepted the job, the board of directors were very transparent and very clear that I would be entering at a very challenging time where California's child welfare would be reformed and AB 403 would be changing the landscape of residential care. And I understood it would be a challenge, and I honestly accepted it knowing that it was going to be a huge learning curve on top of learning a whole new organization. But at the same time, I felt comfortable and confident that my past and experience could serve me well in helping us navigate all this new state legislation. But they weren't kidding. It is still huge. So to kind of explain what this means, it is monumental. AB 403 essentially was legislation that would eliminate or sunset group homes. So currently in the state of California, you have group homes that are licensed at certain levels. Children's Home of Stockton was a level 12, which meant we saw serious kids and at-risk kids, but the highest level for a group home was 14. So we weren't that high a level. We were not Medi-Cal providers. We were doing our work and being able to manage the population very, very steadily and well. So with sunsetting group homes, this goes into effect January of this coming year, 2019. And know that this legislation has been out for 2 years now. So there's been supposedly a significant amount of time for group homes to become licensed, to apply to the state and their local human services agency to become licensed as a short-term residential therapeutic program. So you'll hear me saying this acronym, STRTP. And what that means is, let me start by saying, Children's Home of Stockton went through this very grueling process. Across the state, there have been a good number of STRTPs that have been licensed, and we've learned from them that, expect, many, many months of rewrites between you and the state and the county, and it's a lot of back and forth, and it's taking individuals 10, 12 months to have their application approved. Well, I'm going to brag for a moment because I'm so proud of my team, and it was such a collective effort, and there's such talent and such smart, intelligent, giving individuals on our leadership team, and we together put our application together, and we are still the first and the only STRTP to be approved with absolutely no rewrites from the state.
It's amazing. It's phenomenal.
It really is. And it was, quite an honor to have the California Alliance is our membership organization for the state and of all the residential providers, and to hear them communicate with us that it looks like Children's Home of Stockton is the gold standard for our community and for our field. That was huge. So today we got licensed officially August the 1st of this year, and we are still the first and the only STRTP in San Joaquin County. We can house 52 kids that's our current capacity. But the significant changes include, just like the acronym starts out with, short term. You might have heard me mention that previously we were seeing kids 2, 3, 4 years, even sometimes 5 years. It's all unique and individual to the youth. And short term means 6 months is kind of the average.
That's a really short time.
Yes.
You're talking
challenging and unrealistic regulations. And I honestly believe, as we're implementing, and the state has kind of already hinted towards this, that there'll be some significant revisions, and I think there'll be a lot of backpedaling, quite honestly, because you're right on. To be able to serve this very, very sensitive and high-risk population, the hardest to place. How on earth, if we're having great success with seeing these kids over 2-3 years, are we expected to pull out a magic wand and make them successful in 6 months?
And speed it up, yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, and this is kind of the foundation or the basis of this legislation, which I agree in theory, but in reality, it's ridiculous, is that we would all probably agree that our kids thrive, do better, succeed in their home, in a family setting. And so I don't argue that. But the reality is you're not going to find enough qualified resource families, that's what they're calling them instead of foster families, who can manage these kids and their behaviors in such a short turnaround time. So the challenge is really twofold. One, us being able to do as much as we can in those 6 months, unless we apply for an exemption, which we can in some cases, and have our kids with us longer. There is that. But that's all on a one-on-one basis. But for us to do our work in a much quicker time period, and then to step them down into a family or their family, if it's appropriate, or transitional housing program, the options are not all there. They're on paper, but even for our county, we're having a real challenge identifying and training families, certifying families to take these kids. I know families would probably, and I know this for a fact, adopting little children and babies is so much easier. The demand is there. It's so much more challenging to foster and find homes for our adolescents, and that population are the ones that need so much ongoing attention and support. So that's the biggest challenge with STRTP, is the short-term part of it. There are 2 other pieces here that have merit, and I think are going to really be a benefit for our kids. One is that while they're in our care, I said, we have to really step up and give them a lot of services. Well, we have to become medical health providers. So we're currently in conversations and talks with our local behavioral health services, and we have an application into them in the state, and we are on the tail end. Middle of November, we're having our application reviewed.
Wow.
On site at the children's home, and fingers crossed we have done it again, and we can negotiate our contract and hopefully become certified to provide specialty mental health services by December. That's
that would
the
be
goal.
Amazing to have that added on.
Right.
And I can't imagine that they wouldn't okay that with all of the services and the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you. I'm just learning that there is, I think for face value that they definitely, our county behavioral health services wants to work with us, and they see the value in the partnership and the fact that we're the only SDRTP currently. So that's, a big incentive. But I think there's no kind of skirting around the process, and it's really intense application and detail that you have to provide. So I'm so proud of the staff that I work with. They're,
Do you want to give a shout out to
I
anyone?
do.
Let's do that.
My leadership team is just the most amazing gift to be able to work with such amazing professionals. My associate director is Elizabeth Bridges, who's been with Children's Home for over 30 plus years.
Wow.
So I knew coming into the job, if she was there, I would be I would be fine. She's just my right arm. She's incredibly knowledgeable and compassionate. Our human resources director, TC Truly, has an incredible job. We have 160 employees. And
wow.
Right now, because of these STRTP legislation, we have an increased ratio. So we have more staff that we had to hire. We currently have 24 youth counselor positions open. So Indeed, check out Indeed, people. But TC Truly, she's tremendous on staying on top and tasked with, such a large organization. Steve Parsons is our finance director and is keeping us financially sane during this very trying time, as we still are waiting to get reimbursements from, as Medi-Cal providers. We're just not there yet. Then I have our residential director, Matt Namora, is our longest standing employee. He's been with us for over 35 years.
Wow.
And I mean, that's the one thing I remember being interviewed and learning about, like, well, who's the team? And hearing right off the bat that there were 3 of the leadership team, Elizabeth Bridges, Matt Namora, and then Mike Dutra, who's our principal. And the 3 of them had been with the organization for over 30 years. And
wow,
I thought,
that's amazing.
That is. And that, you hear sometimes people might have overstayed their job, right? Their welcome. These 3 are, I don't know how they do it, but every day it's refreshing, it's inspiring. And I'm just so grateful that they're part of the team. So Matt Namora is our residential director in charge of all the programming for residents. And I haven't even begun to talk about our non-public school, but Mike Dutra is our principal and oversees our non-public school. And then Laura Pedraza, when I came on, I hired a development director, and Laura has been just outstanding, learning at the same pace as myself about the organization, and most importantly, how the community can be engaged, invested in supporting Children's Home of Stockton. So that's our fabulous, fabulous team.
Awesome. Awesome. And talk about how the community can help you. And I know you have some special events coming up.
Yes.
That we want to highlight.
The one thing that I noticed, again, when I first came to Children's Home was, and I'm probably like so many others, like, well, one, I've heard of the name, but I'd never been on the campus. So even like you, I had no idea what a vast campus, how much was going on and
it's like
happening
a college
there.
campus.
It is. It's a beautiful, well-manicured, landscaped, facility with all these really nice houses, and our non-public school looks like a modern high school. I mean, it's beautiful. And, of course, our historical building right in the front, the Marks Phelps building. So I noticed it's like, if I haven't known, how many other people know nothing about Children's Home? So one of the first things I wanted to do is to get community on our campus. And so twice a month, I organize tours. They've been very successful. And,
awesome.
If it's one person, if it's 10 people, if it's 30 people, I'm happy to facilitate a tour. It's 1 hour of their time, and they will get to meet students who are in our school, who are on our residence, maybe working our cafe. I'll tell you more about that. They will get to meet the staff. They will go inside a cottage and see what that's like. They'll tour the whole campus. So those happen on the second Wednesday and third Thursday of the month at 10 o'clock. But if people want to do a tour outside of those times, absolutely, I will accommodate that. Just feel free to contact me directly, and happy to make that happen. So to me, the very first step is getting people to see firsthand who the Children's Home is and what we do and the impact that we have. Then I really believe, as they start to see the needs in our school, or the needs in our music department at the school, or the needs for residential or vocational opportunities, I might be able to better match people's interests with volunteer opportunities. So that's one way of doing it. I'm also really interested when somebody says, and I just had somebody come into the office recently who said, do you have a sewing machine? I said, I don't think we have a sewing machine because if there's interest for any student who wants to sew, I would love to teach them how. So I have an individual who's now going to donate a sewing machine and workout sessions for any of our students who are interested in learning the craft.
Awesome.
We have, there's a tremendous amount of need. So people can donate items and things from our wish lists that are on our website.
What's your website? We haven't even covered that yet.
I know. Our website is chstockton.com. And our website, our wish list is right there, is right there. Facebook, please follow us. And that's at Children's Home Stockton. We're trying to really increase our visibility on social media. And we're doing that, quite a lot more as we're doing events and such. And I'm going to get into our event in a moment. But people, again, can get involved. We have an auxiliary, which is a separate 501c3. But we have a group of women. There's approximately 30, 40 women who focus solely on putting together our garden fair, which is in May, their garden fair, but it benefits Children's Home of Stockton. They make a very significant donation in the year to support vocational and enrichment opportunities for our kids, scholarships for our kids, all the things that we need if we need new towels and sheets for the rooms in the cottages. They just purchased, it was a sizable donation for us to upgrade our Ingenuity, which is a math and literacy computer program. And so the auxiliary is a great way to get involved if somebody's time limited.
Who heads that up? We should give them a shout out.
Gayla Schatz is our president of our auxiliary this year. She's tremendous. And again, if somebody's interested on our website, they can navigate and see how to contact the auxiliary, or they can contact me again directly, and I'll put them in touch.
Awesome.
I was going to mention the other huge thing that's coming up. So we're, again, because of all this new legislation, and one final element that has really kind of driven our fundraising efforts now is that we're now required as an STRTP to provide aftercare support. So meaning when our kids are in our care, of course, we're providing them ongoing support, but even after 6 months of them being with us, we have to provide aftercare resources, not only for them, but for their family members. This program is a requirement, but it's not funded by the state. So we've been instructed by the state, fundraise, fundraise, fundraise. Our response was to, and I think it's quite fitting, again, an agency that's so well established for so long in Stockton, Children's Home needs to have this signature event. And so fabulous and wonderful, incredible Kristen Burtwhistle, who has an amazing amount of energy. She's also the founder of the Eleanor Project. And she brought us in pretty early on, and we did a morning morning Joe, cup of Joe, to learn about, myself, but more importantly, the Children's Home. And so the Eleanor Project has been a great way for us to network with other individuals, women, professionals. And she just, again, has such an interest to do so much good in this community.
She's awesome.
She is. And she's like, I want to help do a signature event. Why don't we do something together? And so that was kind of the idea behind Hope and Heart. And this is going to become Children's Home of Stockton's annual signature event.
Awesome.
Our first it's next Thursday. I'm so excited about this. It is at the Bob Hope Theater on November the 8th, next Thursday from 5 to 8. Doors open at 5. There's a cocktail hour. Program starts at 6. The program is hands down going to be the most inspiring. And I have seen many, many presentations, but I have to tell you about our keynote. Her name is Regina Luis. She's authored 2 books. Her first is Somebody, Someone. And what is so incredible about this young woman and her ability to overcome adversity. She's been placed in over 30 different foster care placements in her childhood. Here to me is what is so standout. One of them was Children's Home of Stockton. And her social worker at the time is a very well-known community member here today in Stockton. She will be at the event. There will be a reunion. What's even more fabulous is that Regina, despite all that she's experienced, and there's some real hard stuff that people are going to have to hear, she has just the most hopeful and positive outlook and wants to bring our kids into this message. So we're going to have a lot of kids in the audience, which I'm just super excited about.
Awesome.
But as a community, to be able to embrace what foster kids go through and understand how organizations like Children's Home of Stockton can have just this incredible lifelong impact. We can really be the light for some of these kids. It's going to be remarkable. So, Regina also has this incredible opportunity to come back in the new year. Her first book, Somebody Someone, just wrapped up filming. It's going to be coming out with a Lifetime movie.
Wow.
I know. And
wow.
So she's like, I want to come back. I want Stockton to be able to have some of the glory.
Wonderful.
Which would be fabulous.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's really exciting. I'm looking forward to that event. When I first heard
there.
about it, I bought tickets right away. And it's exciting. And it's exciting that you're working with Kirsten and also more with United Way. So all of that is a win-win.
Well, I'm really, really ecstatic. And of course, I know it's out, but the fact that, Kristen was just named the president and CEO of United Way, I think she will be just tremendous in, keeping United Way at the forefront in terms of supporting the nonprofit community.
I think she'll be perfect.
She will. And congratulations to you, can I say?
Yeah.
So I just understand that you were just nominated to the board of directors at United Way, and that's tremendous. You do so much good, Julie, that I just think it's a great fitting opportunity for you.
I'm excited because United Way is such a foundation in our community and helps so many other nonprofits do the amazing work that they do.
Yeah. And, I firsthand, I can say that. Even though Children's Home of Stockton has been around for so long, the name, our presence has not been out there. And Andy was, so gracious right out the gate to say, you know what, we can showcase you at the luncheon. And that just kind of spurred so many other opportunities for our kids, which I mentioned just in passing. Oh, did I? We have a band, the CHS Bulldogs. And these kids are both a mix of our day population, so the kids that come to us and attend our non-public school, but they go home after school, and our residents. So they're the ones who are with us 24/7. The band right now is just, I said, on fire. They're playing so well. They have great vocals. They were honored to be able to play at the United Way kickoff. And then
it was awesome.
They were great, right?
Yes, they were amazing.
And they also just recently were invited to the City of Stockton United Way campaign kickoff. And
that's awesome.
They actually sang there as well. And it's a proud moment because, again, I want the community to understand that just doesn't happen overnight. And these kids who could be with us for such a long period of time, it takes a lot of trust and work to get them to that place where they have such confidence and belief in themselves to do what they're doing now. And I just feel like such a proud mom almost.
Well, and you should, because you really are the mother for all of them. And it just takes so much. I don't know how you're doing what you're doing, and I want to hear more about how you decided to transition from the Women's Center to the Children's Home.
Yeah, I get that asked a lot. And it was, Julie, I never expected that I would leave the Women's Center. I thought I would be there my whole career. That was always just a part of who I was, right? And out of the blue, I get this phone call from a search company who was, doing the search for a replacement at the Children's Home. And I remember when I got the call, I thought, because I did not know anything about the Children's Home. I thought clinical, I thought it was a closed campus. That's all I kind of thought. And I took the call and I thought they were asking if I had any referrals, for licensed clinicians or somebody who would want to step into that. And I remember saying, no, they're interested in you applying. And I said, well, I just wanted to be really clear. I said, I'm not a clinician. It's not my world at all. I'm a victim advocate. And the conversation went about, me telling her that I love my job. I love what I'm doing at the Women's Center. My heart is so a part of the mission. And, thank you, but no thank you. And she said, okay, I just want you to just think about it a little longer because I understand where you're coming from. You've done this for now 20 plus years, 24. And I just want you to think about this, because you don't appear to me like to be the kind of person that doesn't like want a challenge or isn't competitive. And she knew a little bit about my personality. She's like, so I mean, it's fine that you want to be there forever, but let's fast forward. Let's say you're 60 years old, and is that it? Is that all? Is that all you can see yourself ever contributing to this? To your community? And when she put it like that, I thought, am I selling myself short? Am I, not pushing myself? Am I not maybe giving myself an opportunity to learn something new and be, just as good and do as good for these kids? And the more I stewed on it, I thought about the kids themselves, of that population in particular being the ones who were the easiest to forget, the easiest to stereotype and disregard. And I also thought of how often those same kids were probably a lot of the kids that we would see at the Women's Center, but who could fall through the cracks for no, reason of their own. Their families get in the system. And then what? And I thought, again, I've always been a believer that it starts with our kids. If we're going to have lasting, changes in people's lives, it has to start with our kids.
They're our future.
They are. They really are. I don't care how, Pollyanna that sounds or or cliche. It is the truth. And so I said, okay, would I say no only for fear of hard work or change? And that's not who I am. So I jumped in and I said, you know what? I want this. And I gave it my all. And I was just really honored that I got selected.
Well, and to me, it just seems like a natural extension of what you were already doing. I mean, some of these kids you were already working with different abuse situations at the Women's Center.
Absolutely.
And yes, it's not that it isn't important to help the women, but as we said earlier, these are children who would slip through the cracks, who would end up homeless or dead or in other situations if someone doesn't intercede.
That's it in a nutshell. And so I know a number of people have asked me along the way, so do you regret it? Do you have any kind of remorse for your decision? Not at all. One, I feel always good that I left the agency, the Women's Center, in a good place, and I know no one can ever really say that, hopefully not, that, if they left, the place would crumble. That wouldn't be a very healthy or good thing. So I knew that there was a strong board, a strong staff, and that they would go on. And I have no regrets. If anything, I'm more energized.
Awesome.
And excited. And that kind of surprises me because it does take a lot of energy. I'm like, I'm not getting any younger, but but when you have so many lives at stake, and you take away your own personal, you start to realize how much you have to be grateful for in your own life, in your own childhood, and your own kids. I look at my daughters and I think, you girls, and I know they know this, they're very lucky. They had a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of laughter. And, these kids,
they haven't had that.
No.
But you're giving that to them.
We are.
Your whole organization is creating that for them. And one thing that was phenomenal to me was when I was there for the logo change ceremony. And I love the logo. Talk about the logo.
Yes, thank you. So, that was always hard too. Coming on, I'm like, how much change happens right away? But again, I felt when I first came that the agency needed to pop. It needed to come alive. And while the old logo was, the two kind of hands kind of coming together, I think it served its purpose for the time. But then I quickly started working with Judith Buthe and Melissa Williams, who helped us.
To Judith. She's amazing
she's
too.
Fabulous. And I've worked out with her on other projects. I just knew their kind of creative genius would just make this happen. And in the end, they came up with this very simple, but I think very appropriate logo, which now has the house with the heart inside, which
and it's heartwarming.
It is, and it says it all. And we also added a tagline which is Children's Home of Stockton, serving youth and families. So that piece of, knowing that it's not just our kids, but it's their families that are also a part of our work, and helping to foster their success is just as important.
It's awesome. And to me, it's although it's sad that a lot of people are not aware of this amazing organization, you're the perfect person to highlight it in the community and make it known and just have it grow and blossom.
That is my effort every day. It really is. And we actually have, on top of the signature event that's, next week, we're doing a lot of efforts to, again, stay in touch with current donors, but also reach out and identify new donors. We have a fantastic committee that we formed, which is our Major Gifts Committee, comprised of about 7 different individuals in the community who are helping us, solicit gifts for this year, up to Christmas.
Awesome.
And that so far is going exceptionally well. We have
Great.
a holiday card that's coming up as well that will be reaching everybody on our donor database, and just reminding them that the holidays are close and how they might be able to be a part of our kids' Christmas.
Awesome. So let's go back. Let's talk about the Eleanor event. How do people get tickets for this?
So they can either text CHS 4043, or they can call Children's Home. They can call me. I'm going to give you my number right now. It's 209-395-3525. We are also saying at this later time that people can also purchase tickets at the door.
How much are tickets?
$50 per person. We are actually now offering a promotion. So if you bring a student, if there's a youth, they come in at no charge.
Awesome. Amazing. And let's just highlight again the location.
It's at the Bob Hope Theater. The doors open. It's November the 8th. That's next Thursday. Doors open at 5 o'clock. There'll be fantastic appetizers, a no-host bar. Oh, I want to mention 2 other shout-outs here. So we actually have an artist named Susan Bod. She is also affiliated with the Mexican-American Heritage Center.
Oh, awesome.
She's going to display her art. And Kristen Burtwhistle was the one who found her. Susan's art is kind of childlike. She has a lot of really bright colors, hearts. And so she's going to display. It's just really perfect with our Hope and Heart theme.
Beautiful.
So it'll tie in nicely. And in fact, Susan is also making a very grand piece for us to have on stage and use every Hope and Heart signature event from
wonderful.
this time forward. So we're just real ecstatic to be able
Beautiful.
to showcase her beautiful artwork. And then we have a harpist, Anna Marie Marietta. I hope I'm saying that right. She is quite an outstanding musician and a harpist. She has worked with Josh Broden. Josh Broden. Right?
Yeah.
Groban. Josh Groban. Oh my goodness. Josh Groban, Barry Manilow. She has just incredible accolades and recommendations on her website. She will be playing during that cocktail hour from 5 to 6. Yes,
that's amazing.
And then the program starts at 6 o'clock, and we're going to have, like I said, just an incredible, inspiring. She's Regina, beyond her story, which in itself is remarkable. She has just a spirit about her that is just incredible. So I think people will walk away so very excited and enlightened and aware of the issues.
Awesome. It sounds amazing. I can't wait. We also talked about the wish list that's on your website.
Yes.
And let's repeat your website again.
Our website is chstockton.com.
And then you also talked about a Christmas list. So where is that list, or if someone's interested in donating specifically for that, how do they connect for that?
They can collect the wish lists on our website. Currently on the website, they'll see a general wish list. The Christmas wish list is still being developed and probably will go up at least next week. Okay. So you can kind of maybe keep checking that out. Certainly people are always welcome to call us at the Children's Home. They'll connect you if you talk about anything around donations or holiday, giving. You'll be connected with Laura Pedraza, our development director.
Awesome. And is your goal to have presents for the children that are residents or the school or both?
Both. You know,
Awesome.
and originally, I think the big focus was, and that makes sense, is for our residents. But we also have to understand the kids that are referred to us to our non-public school. There are kids in our county. Every school district in San Joaquin County can make referrals to our non-public school. And these kids, while they're a day population, are special needs kids. So they come with an IEP. They come with, just a whole lot of special needs and instruction. And so although they may have a home, often their home is without a whole lot. And so, we want to make sure that every family is able to have, a joyous holiday season. And we want to make sure that these kids get a little something to brighten their holiday.
Wonderful. And I'll have to work with you in connection with Toys for Tots because I'm an ambassador for them.
Yeah.
And we go to multiple locations throughout the city and beyond because every child deserves a Christmas.
They do.
Sometimes it's their only present that they may get.
Well, that just reminds me, and this part is, again, so heartwarming about the services at the Children's Home of Stockton. So I mentioned a couple times, this is like home away from home. Their experience is what it is, and it's not just about treatment in school and treatment in school. They do have chores. They make a meal once a week. They're assigned a day, and they have to make the dinner for everybody on their cottage.
Awesome.
And we work with them on going to the grocery store, learning how to put together a menu, how to cook, of course. And our staff are there to assist them, right? Well, on top of all those the daily stuff that we all need to learn how to do, our laundry, keeping our rooms tidy, these kids also get some really fabulous experiences. And this is generally brought about because of two things. One, our auxiliary and the monies that they raise so that we can take our kids to do certain things, but also the community steps up a whole lot. We'll donate tickets to the symphony, to the opera,
Awesome.
to shows, to a sports game. And so that's what our kids get to do. They get to experience things that we so take for granted. So I know we might have heard this before, but it just always touches me every time when I hear after a trip up to the snow or a trip to the ocean, somebody who's like, that was their first time ever experiencing that. Or get a load of this. My first Christmas at CHS, there was a holiday party that was being put on, and they did a big, like a Sunday spread, right? So they can make all like Sundays, and it was a big station of all the goodies. And, the kids made fun of this one kid for saying, just very honestly, they never had a Sunday. They didn't even know what is a Sunday. And the question is like, are we supposed to, do we do this on Sunday? It just broke your heart because you're like, this is something that's just so taken for granted that we do and we normalize. And we want these kids to be able to be happy kids, even for a brief moment while they're with us. And to me, those are all the little successes that add up into making them respectful, hopeful, happy.
Value themselves.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today and
Sure.
sharing beautiful, heartwarming thoughts. Any final things that you'd like to add?
Maybe two things. One, maybe three things. Get your tickets, Hope and Heart, next Thursday. Call us for those tickets. Second of all, when you hear about foster youth, don't be so quick to judge why these kids are who they are and where they are. And third, make it a point to get to know Children's Home of Stockton. We really do need to have so many partners in the community to do this work. And it really means lifting up a youth to become, just an incredible adult.
Well, and it's going to sound cliche also like what we did earlier, but it takes a village.
It does. Absolutely.
And you're the leader of the village.
Oh, thanks, Julie.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here today. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I am the voice of Stockton. You are the voice of Stockton. We are the voice of Stockton. Let's make it a great day.